Showtime. Hi everyone, this is Comic Noob here. Today I want to talk to you about Superman, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the deluxe edition by Alan Moore. Lately I've been reading Superman comics to prepare for the upcoming theatrical release, James Gunn's movie coming out next week. Very excited for that. Have been reading a lot of Superman, and so far I think this one might be the best. Let's talk more about it. So here I've taken off the dust jacket. I noticed on the back it doesn't say praise for this story, it says praise for Alan Moore. He really is a good writer. He's done a lot of good work. My most recent Comic Noob video was on Batman the Killing Joke, which was also written by Alan Moore. So very good. And I really like this cover. It's a nice homage to the, let's say, the older, maybe Silver Age Superman comics. And when I first looked at this cover, I thought, there's so many things happening on this cover. Does this all happen in this very skinny story? I'm here to tell you that not only does this all happen in this one very skinny book, but this all happens in one comic book issue. There are 4 issues in here. One is an annual issue, which is a bit larger, but this is a relatively small book. But let's just take a look at what's going on here. So we have Superman, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. See the rampage of Bizarro. Experience the return of the fearsome funsters. Witness the killing of Clark Kent. Meet the new Brainiac Luthor team. Survive the Daily Planet's last stand. And attend the Legion of Superheroes' last salute. This all happens, most of this in one issue. I forget if this one was overlapping in a second issue, but it's all pretty fast-paced. So what's the premise of this story? Well, around the time of Crisis on Infinite Earths, DC wanted to do a reboot on Superman. And the editor of Superman at the time wanted to close out his run on Superman before passing the baton to John Byrne for the reboot with what he thought would be the last Superman story ever told if the character were to sort of retire or go away. So this is what it tells. This closes the run with almost like an Elseworlds tale, the last Superman story ever told. So it is really incredible. This is not a very expensive book. This is not a very big book. You could probably read it in 1 to 2 sittings. I would highly recommend this. Out of everything that I read this year Superman related, even Justice League material, this is for sure the best on this character. Let's open this up. Already removed the dust jacket and take a look. A very nice image of Superman here. So I'm going to really try to stay away from spoilers on this one because there are some key events that happen in this story that I think are best left to a first-time experience if you haven't read this without knowing anything. So I'll just give the overall premise of these issues. So here you are, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. By the way, this book, the whole book, I believe, was written by Alan Moore. Fantastic writing through and through. And the art in this book is very consistently high quality, especially for when this came out. I think this was like the mid-'80s. So I would take this art for comic books today. This is really good. So you get this nice introduction here. I think it's by no, it's not by the Superman editor. It's by Paul Kupperberg. Much later when this story was written. And here you are, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. This spans 2 issues, 1 issue of Superman and 1 issue of Action Comics. And I really like the way that Alan Moore wrote this. He says, this is an imaginary story. So you're thinking an Elseworlds tale. But then he continues here, aren't they all? So he's raising the possibility that, maybe this really is what actually happened to Superman. But I guess, Superman's continuing to be published, and this story kind of concludes the chapter on Superman. So I guess, this probably isn't mainline continuity, but very interesting word usage here from Alan Moore. You also have Curt Swan on the pencils here. Curt Swan is one of the most famous Superman artists, and George Perez. George Perez is well known for very prolific career drawing New Teen Titans and the Avengers. So he's great. So you're gonna, in the beginning, the setup of this story is that Superman sort of went away in the mid-'80s, I guess, when this was written, and Lois Lane is married now, and she retired from the Daily Planet. She has a kid, and the Daily Planet wants to interview her to get her sort of last memories of when Superman was there. So that's what's going on here, and over the story, you're gonna basically see everything that happened on this cover page, and it's a very well-written story, very well-paced. A lot of things happen here. You see many of the key Superman characters from the Golden Age, the Silver Age, and the Bronze Age come into play. And I will pretty much leave it there. Maybe I'll just show this cover. This is the cover of the Action Comics issue. You can consider this part 2. So they're saying goodbye to Superman. Superman doesn't look too happy there. So I'm going to go and jump to the next story. I really don't want to give much away because I thought that was a very powerful Superman story, especially the ending of whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. So after that, that's about half the book. The next thing you have here is this story written by Alan Moore. Alan Moore, as you may know, is very well known for his run on Swamp Thing. And I would call this a Superman story where Swamp Thing shows up. Superman is really the main character here. And this Superman story is a bit more gritty than most other Superman stories. I enjoyed this because this shows Superman in let's say, the Swamp Thing's world, where you have sort of like this visceral plant life and, let's say, borderline horror elements going on. You see Superman is very uncomfortable there. Later on, he's going to meet Swamp Thing. And this was a great story in that it shows Superman, tells a Superman story in a more gritty, let's say, Swamp Thing style light. Of course, introducing the Swamp Thing roughly halfway through the story. There's Superman using his heat vision. So we'll let you enjoy that. This one I really liked. I also happen to like Swamp Thing. But if you're a Superman reader, the flavor of this story is very different from most other Superman stories. So just be aware of that before going in here. If you like Swamp Thing and you like Superman, this is going to be perfect for you, though. The book concludes with one of the most famous Superman stories. It's a separate story from the others that have come before it in this book. It was told in Superman Annual number 11, again in the mid-'80s. This one was also absolutely fantastic, again written by Alan Moore. I would say for me, this could easily be in the top 3 Superman stories for me. This one is really good. And I really like how it includes, Superman's friends here, Wonder Woman, Batman, and this is the Jason Todd iteration of Robin. So this story is for the man who has everything. And again, the art and the writing is really, really nice in here. I don't want to give too much away. The only thing that I'll say is that it's Superman's birthday, and the various, his various friends, Batman, Robin, and Wonder Woman are giving him gifts. He gets a gift which has some unexpected results, which you see right here on his chest, and this guy in the back is involved. I'll just leave it at that. Really don't want to spoil this story if you haven't read it. Really impressed. This is probably, I would even say this one is better than Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. There's a sub-story in this story that could be a movie in its own right. And I think they had an animated Superman movie based, or maybe it was a TV show, but some animated feature based on this. And that sub-story is so epic that you get carried along in that sub-story, and you almost forget about the main story with Superman and his friends for his birthday. So fully recommend this. Again, writing top-notch, art top-notch, excellent story. So that's about going to do it. Now, I want to give my opinion on this story in the form of a rating. I don't know if I'll do this for every book, but I want to give it for this one. So if there had to be a 10 out of 10, this would definitely get it. This is, my name is Comic Noob, so I'm relatively new to reading comics. Read them when I was younger, here and there, not really too much, but really started to pick up reading them last year. But in my limited experience, this has to be a 10 out of 10. The writing is so consistently good. The art is consistently good. Even that story in the middle with Swamp Thing that mixes it up a little bit, while it may not exactly fit the mold for a Superman story, if you are a fan of the more gritty, more mature elements of Swamp Thing, you're going to like that just as much as the rest of the material in here. So for me, it's a 10 out of 10. If you haven't read this and you plan on seeing the Superman movie soon, give this a read before seeing that movie. This will give you a much deeper appreciation of the character. All right, that's all I have to say for today. Enjoy and take care. See you next time.